Chapter 1005. Apologizing before cleaning. The 4 pillars were different. The first one was pure white, the second one was red, the third one was green, and the last one was black. The black pillar was also 1.5 feet tall. It was engraved with a mysterious divine item and a special contract. It was the most mysterious and powerful treasure among the 4 pillars. Jiang Hao felt his heart race. If the power within was completely unleashed, it would definitely shake the entire world. Fortunately, there was no one around. Otherwise, it would have been too difficult to hide it. He didn't want to be someone who provoked people into war, especially not the seniors who were connected to the human emperor. After wiping it with a rag, he obtained 10 bubbles. He had wiped 4 pillars and obtained 40 bubbles. With that in mind, Jiang Hao looked at his interface. Lifeblood, 89-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 88-100, can be cultivated, I need 23 more. It was not a small number. Only the staff of the Dragon Cave had given him so many. There was basically nothing that could give him 20 bubbles at once. There were 8 god statues and 4 pillars. Even if he added them all up, he could not get 20 more bubbles, let alone 23. No matter how amazing a divine item was, it could not compare to the staff that held the heavenly extreme dream pearl. Jiang Hao breathed out and looked at Liao Yingrong and the other 2 people. They seemed to have made a lot of preparations. We can head to the core now, Jiang Hao said. The 3 of them were overjoyed. They were finally going to the core. Although there were people following them, they still had the advantage. They would definitely arrive before the others. Once the divine item was activated, everything would end. But they wondered why this person kept stopping to clean things. They simply could not understand. At first, they did not think too much about it. But the question still bugged them. They could only think of one answer. Maybe something was wrong in the core. But they did not know the details. There was no choice but to go there and check. They suddenly felt a surge of power. The 4 extreme pillars suddenly activated one by one and connected to each other. Jiang Hao was surprised. He had not expected this to happen. He had to be more careful. Liao Yingrong and the other 2 people were shocked. They were even more worried that something might go wrong inside. However, the activation of the pillars would not change their plans. The core was not easy to find. The 3 of them had spent half a day finding the location. The next day, Jiang Hao saw a palace. The palace was surrounded by thick fog, but they could still see the interior clearly. The towering stone pillars at the entrance of the palace supported the majestic stone door. When one stepped in, one could see the splendor of the palace. The dragon patterns were vivid and lifelike, and there was a faint dragon roar coming from within. Jiang Hao was shocked. He did not know that the divine item was related to the Dragon Clan. When the human emperor was around, the Dragon Clan always cooperated with the human emperor. At that time, the human emperor had received the full support of the Dragon Clan. The core is in the depth, but if we don't have something related to the Dragon Clan, we might not be able to enter, said Zhuo Jing. You can't enter? Jiang Hao asked. There is a way, but it will take some time, Zhuo Jing said. Jiang Hao nodded. Then, they entered the depths of the palace. There was a large door. Jiang Hao could tell that there was a powerful pressure beyond that door that permeated in all directions. Is that dragon's might? Jiang Hao asked. Yes, it is said that the divine item is related to the dragons, Liao Yingrong said. So, you also don't know what exactly it is? Jiang Hao asked. We only know a little about it, but we haven't seen it for real, Liao Yingrong said. He looked pale. He did not care about his arm. He was saving his strength for a last fight. The other 2 were the same. They were prepared to die. I need some time. You have to wait a while, Liao Yingrong said. Jiang Hao did not mind. Instead, he walked to the door. I'm smiling San Sheng. Here to pay a visit. He bowed. His sudden action surprised the 3 saint bandits. They did not understand what he was doing. Boom. While they were still puzzled, all the stone doors around them slowly opened. The divine item appeared. The 3 of them found it unbelievable. Jiang Hao opened his folding fan and smiled. With the dragon pearl, Jiang Hao was able to open doors in the dragon cave. He assumed it would be the same here unless there was no aura of the true dragon. He had sensed the aura, so he gave it a try. Sure enough, it worked. As the door opened, the walls surrounding the palace disappeared bit by bit. The divine item inside was clear for everyone to see. It was the skeleton of a dragon. It still left behind the shadow of a dragon. There was dust on the bones. A faint light appeared in the phantom. It was the vast aura of a true dragon. In front of it, Jiang Hao felt tiny and insignificant. The dragon skeleton was truly impressive. The massive power was overwhelming. So, this is a divine item, Jiang Hao could not help but sigh. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that the divine item was actually a dragon skeleton. He had no idea a dragon was used to suppress the fallen immortal clan back then. In that era, true dragons sacrificed a lot. The human race had been almost wiped out. It was understandable that true dragons had decided to leave. Jiang Hao had never wanted to be such a sacrifice. That was the reason why he would never claim the Shenyuan sword even if he could. He would not ask for divine items even if they were given to him freely. These divine items needed reliable and selfless owners and not someone like him who just wanted to live his own life. He did not have that kind of ambition. Looking at the dragon skeleton, Jiang Hao felt strange. The dragon had been asleep for many years. Jiang Hao could not sense anything from it. He could feel a heavy pressure pressing down on the skeleton of the dragon. Presumably, the activation method might not be effective. Liao Yingrong and the others frowned. Why is it ineffective? They tried to communicate with the divine item, but they could sense nothing. There was no other way. Someone is trying to block it. It must be the Heavenly Spirit Tribe or the Fallen Immortal Clan, Tong Xuan said gloomily. He rarely spoke, but when he did, he always had something smart to say. What do we do now? Zhuo Jing asked. The three of them looked at Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao looked at them and smiled. Leave it to me. You guys just have to guard this place. Don't worry about anything else. Jiang Hao stood in front of the dragon skeleton and took out a rag. He apologized in his heart before he started cleaning the bones. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1006. The Demoness orders. A red sun rose over the sea and the attic was illuminated. A middle-aged man stood in the attic and looked into the distance. He looked very serious. Ever since the Saint Bandits had obtained the item they came for, there had been no more news. Even the fallen immortal clan had yet to encounter Saint Bandits. Fortunately, the divine object was still suppressed. The people from the Heavenly Saint sect also entered. Their madness would definitely affect the people inside. Whether it was them, the end of all things, the Great Thousand God sect, the Saint Bandits, or others, everyone wanted the divine item. Unfortunately, there was too little information. No one was unable to find the location of the divine item. Only they knew where it was. They had sent some people of the fallen immortal clan to the location. Other than the Saint Bandits and them, the others were not much of a threat. This is not good, said the third elder. Something happened to the first ancestral land, asked the clan leader as he looked into the distance. We can't hold on to the ancestral land anymore. We're starting to withdraw, but they seem to have discovered many things. We have suffered some heavy losses, said the third elder. The clan leader smiled and then said, Who did you say opened the ancestral land? That. The third elder lowered his head and did not speak. Is Tong Wu really dead? Asked the clan leader again. The third elder did not speak. Forget it. It's useless to dwell on this. The only way to face that group of people is to avoid them. Take as much of our stuff as you can. Suppress the divine object with all our might. That is the only thing that matters. As long as the divine object is completely destroyed, we'll win. It doesn't matter whether Tong Wu is involved or not. What we want is for the immortal seed to bloom. Only then can we usher in the great era, said the clan leader. He did not care if anyone betrayed the clan. Their main goal remained unchanged. It was useless to play the blame game at this time. The most important thing was to make the divine item disappear. At the very least, they couldn't let the Saint Bandits succeed. The others were not strong enough to pose a threat. "Is there anyone else paying attention to this?" asked the clan leader. "There are many people. The people from Heavenly Tower are also nearby," said the third elder. "They are really well informed. But are there people at the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform?" "Not many," said the third elder. "All right, let's open it. It should be possible. Don't let anyone in for the time being. Let the people inside complete their advancement. No one will need to know," said the clan leader. Of course, the people were already prepared. If anything went wrong, these people would rush in. There might not be that many people. They still had the advantage. Of course, this suppression of the divine item had cost them a lot, but it was all worth it. They did not believe that they would fail, especially when the fallen immortal clan, the Heavenly Saint sect, and even the divine soul of the Holy Master were gathered. How could they fail? It was impossible. On the surface of the sea, many people were paying close attention to the direction of the second ancestral land. No one knew what was happening. Many people had gone to the first ancestral land and unleashed something. Some people obtained some powerful things. The Saint Bandits also wanted to know what was going on inside the second ancestral land. However, he had no way of knowing the situation inside. The people who went in had no way to communicate with the ones outside. A ship stopped on the calm sea. On the deck, a woman in a red and white dress slowly raised her teacup and sipped her tea. The sea was calm, and the wind blew gently. The waves slapped against the side of the ship. At that moment, Hong Yuye closed her eyes and felt the sea breeze and the surrounding power. A moment later, when the tea turned cold, she opened her eyes. "You. In the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform. Enter it now." Her voice surprised the Saint Bandits. The one at the early stage was a woman. She did not dare hesitate. The young man also followed. He wanted to see if it would work. A moment later, the young man returned. "She went in, but I couldn't." A few of them were surprised. They were also impressed by the woman's power. She was truly amazing. Without hesitation, they immediately contacted the others at the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform. They chose to enter. The Heavenly Spirit tribe would definitely be prepared, and their people could enter at any time. If they went in, they could help the others. As for the other matters, they could only wait for instructions from the person on the ship. In the second ancestral land, Jiang Hao frowned. He could feel that the surroundings had changed. The pressure around had lessened a little. They really released the suppression? Jiang Hao muttered to himself. He glanced at the three people who were cultivating. They probably did not notice the change. This is not good. He could only try to speed up. He needed bubbles. If everything went well, he would be able to advance in a day or two. But if he could not, he might not be able to advance at all. It was better to find other divine objects to clean if he could not advance within the month. He had not finished wiping the divine item yet, so he was not in a hurry to do anything else. He needed to finish cleaning it first before making any other decision. He wiped it very gently, and the dust on the skeleton fell bit by bit. Even though he was in a hurry, he was not careless. He obtained many bubbles. Cultivation +1, Lifeblood +1, Spirit Sword +1, Dagger +1, the bubbles fell bit by bit. There were no white bubbles, but he occasionally found some green ones. Most of the bubbles he got were blue. It was a good sign. There were only blue bubbles in the Dragon Cave. At that time, he obtained about 30 bubbles. It was possible he could get 23 bubbles here, after all. As time passed, Jiang Hao gradually sensed an aura surging. It was likely that someone had begun to advance to a new realm. The people from the fallen immortal clan or the heavenly spirit tribe might be nearby. They felt that danger was near. In the evening, he had almost cleaned the skeleton whole. Only the last part was left to be cleaned. Jiang Hao looked at his interface. Lifeblood, 100-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 99-100, can be cultivated, he just needed one more. His heart skipped a beat. He started cleaning the last portion. A bubble fell. Spirit +1, white bubble? Jiang Hao thought. He was worried. A white bubble appeared for the first time. It was not a good sign. He continued wiping and cleaning. When he was almost half done, another white bubble fell. Strength +1, he continued wiping the bones. Spirit sword +1, he wiped it a few more times, but there were no more bubbles. There was only a small part left to be wiped. Jiang Hao took a deep breath and wiped it. He had not felt this nervous in a long time. Finally, a bubble fell. It was blue. Jiang Hao was delighted. If he had not obtained a cultivation point, then his efforts would have been wasted. He was relieved when the blue bubble merged into him. Cultivation +1, Jiang Hao sighed in relief. It worked. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1007, Purple Energy Supporting the Sky in the Second Ancestral Land. The thick mystery of the third layer enveloped everything. It was like an illusion, but it was also somehow real. It was erratic, and one could not see the surrounding path. At that moment, the fog began to surge, as if it had been expelled by someone. A moment later, an empty space appeared, and some people sat cross-legged on the floor. They were from the fallen immortal clan. The leader was a middle-aged man. He stood quietly and looked at the people who were meditating. Their bodies surged with power as if they were breaking through to a new realm. Some strange phenomena were faintly discernible. Their magic treasures had an obvious reaction, indicating that the upper limit here had changed. It was the best time to advance. However, he did not know how long it would take for him to advance. This place was extraordinary. Perhaps there was another kind of help. The people from Heavenly Saint sect had yet to arrive, asked the middle-aged man. Yun Changhe was a rather famous person in the fallen immortal clan. His cultivation was not the highest, but he could lead his clansmen to obtain some benefits that others could not understand. This time, he was in charge of everything. It was not difficult to command his clansmen outside, but the key was to command them inside. It was all because of him that they could come here so quickly. The Heavenly Saint sect was lured here because of him. They are here. It won't be long before they follow the clues we left behind. It should be where the divine object is, said the young man respectfully. Observe the suppressive force. If there are any strange movements, we attack, Yun Changhe said seriously. The few people who had not advanced nodded heavily. There were more and more of them. When these people completed their advancement, the people outside might also come in. At that time, the Heavenly Spirit Tribe, the Heavenly Saint sect, and the fallen immortal clan joined forces. No matter how powerful the Saint bandits were, they would not be able to obtain the final victory. After waiting for a moment, Yun Changhe looked into the distance and realized that someone had already gone to the place where the arrangements were made. Looks like the people from Heavenly Saint sect have gone over. No matter how many Saint bandits there are, they will be stopped. At the same time, Jiang Hao arrived in front of the dragon skeleton. He looked at it and could feel a certain regret. However, he did not know what it was exactly. He appraised it. He needed to know what regrets a dragon skeleton could have. Dragon of the sky, a true dragon that once roamed the 9 heavens, unrestrained and fearless. Because of its responsibility, it chose to stay here and suppress the immortal clan. At that time, it was already old and could no longer fly. Staying here was the best place for it. However, it wanted to rush to the 9 heavens once again and be free to let the world know what it meant to look down on all living things. In its era, it had no friends, no one understood it, and no one understood what power was. It wanted a friend. It wanted to enter the 9 heavens together, soar into the clouds, and intimidate all enemies. This desire still survives, and the remnant soul cannot be freed. You sound so much like me. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. Ascending the 9 heavens and being free, Jiang Hao felt helpless. It was not time yet. Perhaps. It was not impossible. For a moment, Jiang Hao looked at the 3 people around him. If someone comes here, how long can you hold them off? His voice was calm. The 8 directional divine statues and 4 extreme pillars have all been activated. If used well, they can be held off for a long time, but it depends on who comes. If they are all at the peak of Immortal Ascension platform, we can hold them off for 3 days, Liaoyingrong said seriously. 3 days. Even 1.5 days will be enough, said Jiang Hao. 1.5 days. The 3 of them were puzzled. Yes, buy me a day and a half. After that, leave everything to me, Jiang Hao said calmly. Although Liaoyingrong and the other 2 did not understand what he meant, they decided to trust him unconditionally. Leave it to us, they said at the same time. Jiang Hao nodded and sat down cross-legged on the edge of the dragon skeleton. Hiding in the fog was not too bad. But he did not know what he would encounter, so he could only stay here at the moment. When he sat down, he took out the yin-yang bracelet. He barred the entrance. That way, he would be safer. Even if the 3 of them lost, he could still persevere. This time, he was ascending to immortality. 1 day might not be enough, so he had asked for a day and a half. After making sure that there was nothing around him, he closed his eyes and began to extract his cultivation and lifeblood. Once it started, there was no room for interruption. Otherwise, it would all be a waste. However, the 3 of them looked determined. They would probably do their best. Besides, the Saint Bandit at the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform might be coming in soon. They could more or less defend the place. With that, Jiang Hao didn't think too much about it and began to advance. This time, the power in his body surged like a raging sea. There would be a phenomenon when he advanced to the Immortal Ascension platform. He did not know if that phenomenon would affect his surroundings. If it did, it would definitely be coveted by others and there would be danger. He hoped that the fog would be able to resist. Jiang Hao fell into silence. Liaoyingrong and the others immediately covered him with an array formation. Although they did not know what this person wanted to do, they did not feel the need to know. They would protect this person and go through with their plan. Begin activating the 4 pillars and the 8 statues, Liaoyingrong said. Our strength is not enough. I don't know how long we can last, Zhujing said. We still have to try, Tong Xuan said seriously. They had to do it even if they ended up dead. Half a day passed. They had to persevere until the end. They began to set up the formation, and soon, the palace was illuminated by a faint light. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1008, Purple Energy Supporting the Sky, 2. They walked out and sat at the door. They waited for the others to arrive. 1.5 days. That was all they remembered. Half a day later, there were some footsteps. Then, figures appeared in the fog. After a while, those people stood in front of the palace. I finally found it, said the middle-aged man. They saw Liaoyingrong and the other 2, but they didn't care. He could kill 3 people at the peak of the Immortal Ascension platform pretty easily. The number of people increased slowly, and soon, there were almost 12 people. Go in and destroy the divine item. The middle-aged man waved his hand. In an instant, the 12 people erupted with power and began to attack. There was no need for words or plans. In short, if they charged in, they would kill anyone who stood in their way. Boom. Liaoyingrong and the other 2 began to reinforce the array formation. However, the 12 Heavenly Saint Sex powerhouses did not care. Their attacks kept bombarding the light screen in front of them, and countless magic treasures smashed into it. They threw out everything that they could find in their storage treasures. In less than half a day, the formation shattered. Liaoyingrong and the other 2 were surprised. These people were crazy. However, they still would not let them in. A maze appeared. After that, they joined the battle and needed to do everything they could to stop them from advancing. Only half a day had passed. The bewildering formation came from the 8 god statues. If the god statues had not been activated, it would have been even more difficult for them. When they wanted to launch a sneak attack, the people from Heavenly Saint Sect had already arrived. Liaoyingrong roared in rage. Then, he used the array formation to kill his way through. The 2 of them clashed. Liao Yingrong did not care about his injuries at all. He went in and his intrinsic Dharma treasure exploded. Boom! He blasted the person in front of him and sent him flying. Then, he did not retreat but advanced instead. The person from the Heavenly Saint sect shouted, and the Holy Master chose to self-destruct. Boom! Liao Yingrong was blasted away. He was injured, and he could not move at all. However, Zhu Jing and the others ignored him and continued to kill their way through. The people on both sides were crazy. No matter how desperately Liao Yingrong and the other two attacked, it was useless even when coupled with the help of the array formation. There were just too many people from the Heavenly Saint sect. They could not resist 12 people attacking at the same time. After another half a day, the fog cleared. This time, they retreated to where the dragon skeleton was. They activated countless formations and hoped to stall for time. They were not sure how much time had passed, but it was obvious that it was not time yet. The 3 people were already covered in injuries. They stood in front of the dragon skeleton and looked at Heavenly Saint sect. 10 people were still left. The people did not hesitate and immediately began to attack. They did not waste any more time. Liao Yingrong roared angrily and rushed over. He was about to explode. He wanted to kill at least one person. The only thing I hate is that we are too few. We can't guard this place. Go to hell. At that moment, a person from the Heavenly Saint sect arrived. He also wanted to self-destruct. However, just as they were about to collide, a spell was cast. Boom! The person from the Heavenly Saint sect was sent flying. Soon after, a woman flew from afar and landed in front of Liao Yingrong. What are you guys doing? Ji Yu looked at Liao Yingrong in confusion. Why did he suddenly want to self-destruct? She was a saint bandit who had entered the immortal ascension realm. Ji Yu. Liao Yingrong was a little surprised. Guard this place. We can't let them get close to the divine object. Immortal ascension platform? The middle-aged man from Heavenly Saint sect laughed. Looks like the restrictions have been lifted. In that case, we won't hold back. Then, 6 of them stood together. The power spread out from their bodies, and then they walked ahead together. The 6 of them circled around and formed seals. The Holy Master of our sect was born in chaos and created the heavens and earth. His divine soul shines on the mountains and seas, and he is everywhere. He is manifested in our hearts. As soon as he finished speaking, the 6 people's divine souls resonated together. In an instant, a power that surpassed the immortal ascension platform erupted from the 6 people's bodies. At that moment, the 6 of them were like a single entity. Gus' eyes narrowed when she sensed it. At that moment, 6 people attacked her. How dare a mere saint bandit make an enemy of the Holy Master? Boom! For a moment, the 2 sides were evenly matched. Liao Yingrong and the others began to defend against them. This time, they were much more relaxed. However, the people from the Heavenly Spirit sect and the fallen immortal clan would be here soon. He did not know how long he could last. When they attacked, purple energy gathered above the fog. A shadow began to form. It held the sky in its hand and sat cross-legged on the ground. It seemed to be supporting the entire world. At that moment, there was a ring behind him, and purple energy surrounded and spread around him. However, the people in the hall were unable to detect the changes in the fog. On the other side, the fallen immortal clan and the others were struggling to advance. They could sense that an immortal ascension realm cultivator had appeared. If they did not go, the saint bandits might win. Although suppressing the divine item wasn't a problem, it was better to be safe than sorry. However, just as Yun Changhe hesitated, he suddenly sensed the presence of purple energy. Immediately after, the few people who had not been able to advance walked ahead. The strange phenomenon behind him began to condense, and advancement was about to be completed. Where did this purple energy come from? Yun Changhe was a little surprised. It would not be long before several of them could ascend to immortality. It seemed that this place was full of opportunities. Purple energy surrounded them. The speed was somewhat extraordinary. Just what can be so amazing? Yun Changhe was very curious. When he raised his head, he vaguely saw a purple light. In front of the light, a figure sat cross-legged on the ground. It was as though the figure was supporting the entire sky. What was that? He had never understood such a thing. However, it must be something beneficial. Under the illumination of the phantom, their bodies were covered by a strange phenomenon. Soon, it disappeared. It meant that the advancement was about to be complete. The heavens are helping me. Our immortals are destined to regain our glory. As time passed, the person who had advanced opened their eyes. At that moment, the aura of immortal ascension platform bloomed. Although his cultivation realm was not stable enough, it would have to be. In a place where there were not many immortal ascension platform cultivators, the aura was about to crush everything. Even if there were other immortals in the place, there were bound to be very few. There were not many people in that realm outside. "Let's go," Yun Changhe said in a low voice after everyone got up. In an instant, dozens of people marched toward the palace. That was the last stop. Although their people had already suppressed the divine object, it was not enough. Only by destroying it could they feel at ease. At that moment, the purple energy was slowly disappearing. Yun Changhe knew that destiny was on their side. In front of the palace, Ji had repelled the 6 people, but the divine souls on their bodies were somewhat terrifying. Their strength completely suppressed her. It was the Holy Master's power. Meanwhile, Liao Yingrong and the other 2 were desperate. Ji wondered what made them act so crazy. 3 of them were injured, but even so, they still guarded the door. What had made them do something like that? Kill them. The people from the Heavenly Saint sect attacked again. Ji did not have time to think anymore. Just as they were fighting, footsteps sounded from afar. Then, more figures began to appear. The Immortal Ascension platform aura surged like a storm. Without hesitating, 2 people flew up and attacked Ji. In an instant, a vast aura surged and shook the surroundings. Under the attack of 3 parties, Ji was sent flying. She was heavily injured. Liao Yingrong and the other 2 were sent flying by the aftershock. They landed heavily beside the dragon skeleton. Against the arrival of the fallen immortal clan, the Saint bandits could not withstand a single blow. Yun Changhe walked before the dragon skeleton and looked at the edge of the dragon's foot. There was an array formation covering it. "Break it," he said calmly. At that moment, there was an explosion. Boom. A sturdy figure blocked the attack. A hole was left in his body. The expert who had attacked him frowned. A spear materialized in his hand, and he threw it. The spear pierced Tong Xuan and forced him to retreat. Seeing that he was about to completely reopen the array formation, he roared angrily as flames burned on his body. He used the burning of his life force to block the shot. However, he could not take it and fell in front of the array. At that moment, the array formation was broken. Jiang Kao's figure appeared. He sensed the power fluctuation and had woken up from his meditation. Although his advancement was completed, it had not stabilized yet. He slowly opened his eyes. He was like a sleeping giant waking up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1009. Who am I? Smiling San Sheng, the dragon skeleton, was still in the center of the palace. Only 8 pillars were left in the grand palace, but it was still majestic. At that moment, Tong Xuan and the others were lying in front of the palace. They were on the verge of death. They could die at any moment. On the other side, Ji was also lying on the ground, but her injuries were not as grave as the other 3. What? Jiang Kao opened his eyes and looked at Tong Xuan in confusion. What happened to you? Although he had hoped that these people would help him fend off the danger, he had never thought that they would go so far. They had said they would go through fire and water for him. He was surprised and moved. To die for you is my honor. Tong Xuan looked at the person beside him weakly. Jiang Kao laughed. He stood up and said, "Thank you. I'll remember you gratefully. But it's not your time yet." Smiling San Sheng, Yun Changhe frowned. At the Immortal Ascension platform? I just advanced. It's not stable yet, Jiang Hao said with a smile as he held the folding fan. Are you going to resist us? Yun Changhe asked. Who am I? Smiling San Sheng. Jiang Hao put away the yin-yang bracelet and looked at the dozens of people in front of him. Do you know who these people lying on the ground are? You are Smiling San Sheng from the end of all things. The people on the floor are the Saint Bandits, said Yun Changhe. That doesn't seem to be related. Although the person in front of him made him feel strange, he could increase his chances of winning by taking him by surprise. Wrong. Jiang Hao's eyes filled with eagerness. I, Smiling San Sheng, am a good person. These people on the ground were helping me. I naturally have to return the favor and stand up for them. Stand up for them? How do you plan to do that? Yun Changhe sneered. It's very simple. Jiang Hao smiled. Then, do it. Yun Changhe said without hesitation. In an instant, several people surrounded him. However, Jiang Hao disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was standing in front of Yun Changhe. A long saber pierced into his body. The knife went in from the stomach and came out from the back. Yun Changhe, who had intended to retreat, was stunned. To stand up for them, I should naturally kill all of you. Jiang Hao laughed out loud. Then, under Yun Chang's shocked gaze, he held the heavenly blade and slashed at his neck. His head was severed. In an instant, a great battle erupted. Jiyu wanted to intervene. Hold on. Our people are almost there. However, she realized that Smiling San Sheng had no intention of defending himself. Instead, he was charging into battle with his long saber. It frustrated her. He was too impulsive. But she was stunned. He waved his long saber. The blade rose and fell, and another head was severed. Smiling San Sheng was not happy. He could pierce through the crowd and kill a person every 10 steps. Dozens of people surrounded him. Jiang Hao looked at them, and his figure gradually became blurry. It was strangely wandering in the crowd. The blade was covered in purple energy, and the mountain sea seal surged. He stabbed some and beheaded others. Someone was sent flying by his kick, and then his spear pierced through another person's body. The laughter spread in all directions. It was as if he was mocking everyone's incompetence. He was showing off a little. The number of people of the fallen immortal clan decreased. The people of the Heavenly Saint sect roared in rage. They all joined hands and unleashed their strength. The terrifying power shocked Jiyu. However, Jiang Hao only raised his heavenly blade. He used the second form of the heavenly blade, mountain suppression. The blade rose. Then, he slashed down. Crash. Boom. The people of the Heavenly Saint sect were turned into puddles of blood. This scene shocked Jiyu. However, this was not the end, but the beginning. Liao Yingrong and the others were shocked at the scene. They knew that what this person lacked was time. Such willfulness and talent were unparalleled in the world. When the laughter died down, the surrounding was littered with corpses, and no one was left standing. A white-robed scholar stood upon the corpse and looked around with a folding fan in his hand. No one was his match. At that moment, Jiyu had yet to regain her senses when she saw the other party suddenly turn to look at her. Were you implying just now that you intended to tell me how to do things here? He asked. No. Jiyu lowered her head. That's good. Jiang Hao smiled. In this place, whatever I say goes. When there were no more enemies left standing, Jiang Hao arrived in front of the dragon skeleton. It was different from before. He saw it. There was a possibility of breaking through the shackles. However, he needed to recuperate. Wait for me for a while, Jiang Hao said calmly. Then, he sat down cross-legged and used all his remaining cultivation. He wanted to be at his peak. At the same time, Jiyu tried to activate the divine item, but she realized that she could not do it. The place was still suppressed by power. There was no possibility of breaking it. It made Jiyu feel helpless. Outside, the people of the Heavenly Spirit tribe sat cross-legged in front of the altar. The dragon blood surged in the altar, and there was also the aura of the immortals. At that moment, the surrounding power suppressed it. An old man who was originally at the core suddenly opened his eyes in disbelief. Yun Changhe is dead. Looks like something big has happened inside. Do the Saint Bandits have the strength? They had paid a lot for this plan to succeed. Regardless of whether it was outside or inside, they had to have the advantage. But Yun Changhe was dead. It meant that they had less advantage. It was unbelievable. The people outside did not know what had happened. He had called the others. The response they received was that the Saint Bandits had gotten what they wanted. There was no more news. However, their people had already gone in. It would not take long for them to control the situation inside. "Elder, should we send someone in?" asked a young man. "No need." The old man shook his head. "Yun Changhe is dead, which means that the person inside is not as simple as we thought. The situation is out of control. No matter how many people go in, it will be useless. We can only continue to use this altar to suppress the divine item. Go and see if the people of the Heavenly Saint tribe can lend us a hand." "All right." The young man nodded. The old man lowered his head and looked at the altar. His eyes were filled with determination. "No matter who it is, no one can stop us from walking toward glory. The human emperor is long dead, and the Shenyuan clan is no longer the same as before. The dragon clan has also disappeared. No one can stop us," the old man muttered to himself. In just a short while, the Heavenly Spirit tribe sent many people to cooperate with the fallen immortal clan. At that moment, the clan leader looked outside and said, "A storm is coming. Get everyone ready." There were too many people who did not wish for them to regain their glory. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:10. Friend, let's go to the 9 heavens in the sea area far away from the Heavenly Spirit tribe. A few ships stopped there. They looked into the distance and waited. They knew the importance of this matter, but they were powerless to get involved. There was no need to get involved. This was a fight between people. They were only there to check on the situation. On the ship, Mr. Dao frowned. It had been so long, but there was no change. This surprised him. Did they all fail? Mr. Dao muttered to himself. The Heavenly Tower hoped that the sea area would calm down again. If the Heavenly Spirit tribe suddenly rose, it would affect the stability of the sea area and impact the Heavenly Tower. Although it wasn't a big problem, it was still too early. If their people were a little stronger, they would be able to deal with it. "Mr. Dao, isn't it time yet?" Tang Yue asked. They had been here for a few days. However, it was as if nothing was going to happen. Many people watched, but they could not see anything at all. It was as if they had received the wrong news. "Be patient." Mr. Dao smiled. Tang Yue was bored. Everyone had left. They felt that they could not see any changes. Moreover, he did not feel like something big had happened. It was far from the dragon cave. At that moment, Hong Yuye was still sitting on the deck. She looked at the sea. "Have you seen the immortals?" There were no longer people around the ship. "Yes," said a woman near the deck. "We don't really understand the power of immortals. We didn't do much. Do you pay attention to the immortal seed?" Hong Yuye asked again. "It's said that it's about to bloom, so the fallen immortal clan will definitely become a huge obstacle this time," said the woman. "The immortal seed is about to bloom. It seems you don't know how terrifying the immortals can be." "Senior, what do you mean?" someone asked. "How was the Heavenly Spirit tribe back then?" Hong Yuye asked. "They were blessed by the heavens," said someone. "At that time, if the Heavenly Spirit tribe was so powerful, why did they cooperate with the human emperor to fight against the immortals?" Hong Yuye asked. The Saint Bandits were stunned. When Jiang Hao opened his eyes, his strength had already recovered to its peak. His cultivation was also refined. It was much stronger than before. If he had not just advanced, he would have been in danger. It was too risky to make so many enemies at once. Looking around, he saw that Ji Yu was helping the others to heal. However, the 3 of them were seriously injured, and he did not know if they could be saved. Jiang Hao sighed. When he came here, he did not care about their lives. He hoped that they would live. The divine item can no longer be activated, said Jiyu and looked at Jiang Hao. She tried all the methods, but she could not change it at all. She asked Liao Yingrong and the other two why they were so desperate, but she did not get an answer. She felt strange. What exactly had happened? Jiang Hao glanced at her and then at the dragon skeleton. He did not know how to activate the divine item, but he wanted to help. He activated the Heaven Lock technique. In an instant, he saw many threads winding around the dragon's skeleton. The threads were about to break. There were many other profound things too. He could not understand what it was. He sensed the one heart palm activate on his chest. Hong Yuye probably wanted to see the divine item through his eyes. A moment later, Jiang Hao sensed the one heart palm on the other side activate too. After looking at the dragon skeleton, Jiang Hao walked up to it. "You want to fly, right?" The dragon skeleton did not respond. "Perhaps I can help you," Jiang Hao said. However, the dragon skeleton remained silent. At that moment, Jiang Hao took out the Archean Abyss Dragon Pearl. He looked up at the fog in the sky. "The restrictions here are very deep. I might not be able to do it, but I can at least try." As he spoke, Jiang Hao walked to the side of the dragon skeleton and gently touched it. "Friend, please open your eyes." As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon's might condensed on the dragon's skeleton and began to surge. The eyes of the skeleton seemed to gather power. The eyes tried to flutter open. Jiang Hao smiled. Then, he looked at the dragon pearl in his hand and muttered to himself, "Please." The only thing he could use now was the influence of the Archean Abyss Dragon Pearl. Perhaps it could break free from the restraints here. Then, Jiang Hao threw away the dragon pearl and jumped up. He chuckled. "Friend, come with me to the 9 heavens." As smiling San Sheng flew up, the silent dragon skeleton began to tremble. Jiyu and the others were in disbelief. A moment later, a dragon's roar shook the surroundings. Outside, Hong Yuye slowly put down the teacup. She could see a dragon, but it was a little unusual. "How long do we have to wait? If the immortal seed really blooms, won't it be too late to do anything?" someone asked. The others did not know what to say. "It's here," Hong Yuye said. Everyone was puzzled. But soon, a blue pillar of light shot out of the water. Immediately after, countless blue lights broke through the sea and rushed into the 9 heavens. The sudden change caught everyone's attention. The sea began to churn. The people of the heavenly spirit tribe immediately informed the fallen immortal clan, but they did not sense the divine item, nor did they sense that someone had activated the divine item. The blue light covered the sky and the sun. Shu Bai stood on the surface of the sea. Mr. Dao shot up to his feet. He wondered if this was a signal. Roar. While everyone was speculating, a dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens. A blue dragon shadow soared into the sky from the sea. A white figure stood at the head of the dragon. He held a folding fan in his hand and was dressed in white. There was a dragon pearl circling around him. Everyone looked up, but for some reason, they felt that these two figures were illusory. High up in the sky, the blue dragon's shadow circled in the air. It seemed unable to go higher. Jiang Hao looked up and smiled. "My friend, where are we now? Aren't we going to continue?" The dragon's roar shook everything. Jiang Hao nodded. "No problem. I'll break it. No one can stop us from going up to the 9 heavens. There's nothing in the world that can stop me." The heavenly blade appeared in Jiang Hao's hand. He looked up at the sky and slashed out. "Let's go and see the 9 heavens." The sword's intent surged and broke through the sky. At the same time, the altar of the fallen immortal clan trembled. Someone started to break through the suppressive power. "Suppress it with all your might," roared the old man in the scent. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 10:11. I, smiling San Sheng, am going to surpass the human emperor in the heavenly spirit tribe. The members of the fallen immortal clan sensed the divine item. However, it was different from what he had expected. It was as if the one who wanted to break through the shackles was not a divine item but someone else. At that moment, dark clouds gathered in the sky and lightning surged. The blue light instantly covered the dragon's shadow. The power of the fallen immortal clan pressed down on the altar, wanting to seal everything. At this moment, the dragon blood in the altar squeezed out and could not flow any longer. However, just as they felt that it was safe, the sword's intent in the sky appeared. A wisp of purple energy surged into the altar. The dragon blood was surrounded by purple energy, and its power soared. It began to swallow the incoming immortal intent. "Don't come out." The old man in the center formed a seal and gathered the surrounding power to suppress it. Boom! The immortal will in the altar exploded and suppressed the dragon blood again. At that moment, the surrounding people joined in. The people of the heavenly spirit tribe also entered the altar and began to lend their power to suppress the divine item. Boom! Numerous attacks fell from the sky. The powerful force continued to bombard him. The saint bandits appeared from all directions and attacked the heavenly spirit tribe. They had been hiding in the dark. They had received orders to attack the heavenly spirit tribe. Saint Bandits, the clan leader of the heavenly spirit clan, roared. "You're supposed to be a part of the heavenly spirit tribe. You're all shameless." The array formation of the heavenly spirit tribe was activated, and countless experts were mobilized to attack. The heavenly spirit tribe vowed that they would not let anyone stop the fallen immortal clan from suppressing the divine item. Other than the saint bandits, numerous sea creatures appeared in the deep sea. They opened their eyes and terrifying power rushed toward the heavenly spirit tribe. "Deep sea creatures, you dare to get involved in this? You're seeking death." The third elder stepped into the air, and a powerful force surged down. The sudden battle swept through the surroundings like a storm. The waves surged and shook the surroundings. It made everyone retreat. Hong Yuye sat on the deck of the ship. No storm could cause any waves here. The woman who was guarding the ship was amazed. If this person were to make a move, she could end this fight in one fell swoop. The great era had yet to rise, and some people stayed out of it. Hong Yuye looked up at the sky and saw the dark clouds. However, her eyes seemed to pierce through the clouds. At that moment, she gently touched her chest. A faint pain lingered there. The one heart palm imprint was burning. Images appeared in her eyes. They surged like lightning. A sword intent broke through the lightning, and a dragon appeared. Amidst the dark clouds, Jiang Hao laughed out loud. However, he and his blade were enough to split open a path to the heavens. A mere thunderbolt was not enough to stop him. Boom! The heavenly blade slashed through everything and dispersed the lightning. However, the lightning was not so easy to break. However, his blade was like a beam of light that pierced through the darkness. Before long, the darkness was illuminated by his blade's light. However, not long after the sword's light swept through the lightning, some shadows condensed in the sky. There were human figures, like divine weapons descending from the sky. The leader was an old man. He looked down at Jiang Hao. "Fellow disciple, go back where you came from. Our immortal clan owes you a favor. We will definitely thank you however we can in the future. Do you know who I am?" Jiang Hao suddenly asked. "Who doesn't know?" the old man said calmly. "Since you know who I am, do you really think I'll listen to you? What use do I have for the favor of your fallen immortal clan?" said Jiang Hao mockingly. "Can you even think about destroying this world? I, smiling San Sheng, am a part of the end of all things. The final goal of that organization is to end everything. Stopping immortals is the key." The old man lowered his head. At that moment, there were more and more people behind him. "Not even the immortal sects can do that." Jiang Hao chuckled. "Since you are so confident, why are you even talking to me? You want to do this the hard way?" asked the old man. "Who do you think you are? The glory of the immortals will definitely be rekindled." Despite the powerful suppression, Jiang Hao did not show any fear. He held his sword and flew into the clouds. In the blink of an eye, a beam of light appeared in front of the old man. The heavenly blade slashed out. He forced several people to retreat. His arrogance grated on them. He knew he was powerful and invincible. Rather than chasing the sunset, it's better to wait for the stars in the sky. The fallen immortal clan is too stuck in the past. "Past?" the old man sneered. Our past is a height that you can't reach in your entire lifetime. Do you think you can stop this? Do you assume the human emperor is still alive? Without the human emperor, no one can stop us. Unless the human emperor appears, we are destined to rise to greatness again. The voices of the fallen immortal clan became louder and louder, and their immortal aura gradually appeared. Jiang Hao looked at the people and felt immense pressure. However, he just smiled. The human emperor has to come personally. Really? Yes. Unless the human emperor appears, no one can stop us, said the old man. At that moment, Jiang Hao was holding the heavenly blade in his hand. He lowered his head and chuckled. His voice was low and deep, but it shook the entire world. There's no need for the human emperor to come here personally. I, smiling San Sheng, will surpass the human emperor. As the sound of his voice faded, the heavenly blade trembled. The sword intent filled the world. The resplendent sword light shook the world. It was as if it wanted to split the world apart and create a new era. The onlookers looked up into the sky. The sound of thunder did not recede. Only a few people heard the voice in the sky. Hong Yuye looked up at the sky. She could hear smiling San Sheng's arrogant voice. How arrogant of him, she murmured to herself. In the next moment, a sword light swept across the sky. A long sword pierced through the darkness and carved out a new world. The light of the fallen immortal clan was dispersed into stars in the sky. Such a resplendent scene enchanted the people below. At that moment, a dragon's shadow shot through the clouds and arrived in the endless sky. However, his figure was blurry. Where are they even fighting? Asked a woman in confusion. Some people had already flown up. Some of them wanted to stop the true dragon, and others wanted to help smiling San Sheng. However, no matter how close they got, they could never reach him. It's a world of the strong. Power isn't divided by the cultivation realm but by the spirit and the Tao. Being fearless gets you more power. At the end of the day, the confidence you have in your heart is what matters, said Hong Yuye calmly. The woman beside her was a little surprised. She felt that Hong Yuye seemed different. However, smiling San Sheng was able to break through the barrier, which was enough to prove his ability. At that moment, Tang Wei seemed to have heard a voice from the ship. Mr. Dao, I think I heard smiling San Sheng's voice. My talent lets me hear it, she said as she looked at Mr. Dao. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10-12, Friend, leave the others to me. The moment the dark clouds began to disperse, the fallen immortal clan who were helping the heavenly spirit tribe at the altar were driven back. Boundless blue light emerged from the altar. It was the aura of a true dragon. The old man looked reluctant. He had never thought that he would actually lose to a child in a battle. He did not mind losing as long as his clan could rise again. He looked at his other clansmen. We came here with the hope of saving our clan. Even if we have to die, we must ensure the divine item is shattered. We are the hope of the fallen immortal clan. We must be worthy even if we end up dead. The old man pressed his hand on his forehead, and his lifeblood flowed out. Use your lifeblood to stop smiling San Sheng to activate the divine item, even if we have to do it with our lives. For a moment, countless fallen immortal clan did the same and their lifeblood flowed out from their foreheads. He wanted to use his lifeblood to stop smiling San Sheng. It felt like a seed blossomed in their life force. As the seed bloomed, a vast immortal aura spread. It swept in all directions. The immortal intent was incomparably forceful. The heavenly spirit tribe felt pressure. Shu Bai, who was outside, sensed the immortal aura. He could not help but sigh. Has the immortal seed begun to bloom? He did not expect the immortal seed to bloom so quickly. He had hoped that the divine item would be activated, and it would stop everything. Then, he looked behind him. Fellow disciple, I hope you can lend me a hand. Sure, said a woman as she emerged from the water. I'm a little embarrassed that I couldn't enter the place. It's all right. Things don't work out like you want every time. That's okay. I hope we can suppress that thing for a while, though, said Shu Bai. Then, He took a step forward, and stars covered his entire body. He covered the sky. He looked like a starry giant in the sky. Stars surged and moved around him. The woman also stepped out of the water. She held a jade-green pearl and directed the endless sea to surge toward the heavenly spirit tribe. They all used their supreme treasures. It was to put pressure on the fallen immortal clan. Suppressing the immortal aura would buy Smiling San Sheng some time. The explosion of power this time made the heavenly spirit tribe feel great pressure. Even the fallen immortal clan sensed that these powerful people were targeting them. Mr. Dao, who was watching from afar, frowned. He had just sensed the immense immortal intent. It was terrifying. "Make your move now," said Mr. Dao and got up. Smiling San Sheng said that he will surpass the human emperor. Tang Ya was surprised. At that moment, there was power surging in her body, and she could attack at any time. "You heard that? That's all?" Zhu Shen asked. He looked at her calmly, and his divine light was restrained. The sound of thunder shook him. The matter had nothing to do with them, but if Mr. Dao told them to take action, they would. "It's already good enough that I can hear one sentence. You guys can't even hear anything," Tang Ya said angrily. "That might only be half a sentence," Zhu Shen said. Tang Ya snorted and stepped forward. "What's the rush?" Mr. Dao stopped her. "Disguise yourself first. You are now a member of the Great Thousand God sect." Tang Ya was speechless. It wasn't just them. The person who had been holding the iron sword also erupted with powerful sword intent. Instantly, the island of the heavenly spirit tribe began to collapse. Above the clouds, Jiang Hao raised his head and saw the endless sky. He lowered his head and saw a terrifying immortal aura gathering below. He smiled and looked at the dragon shadow. "Friend, go ahead. The 9 heavens are right in front of us. We will rise with the wind and travel up to 90,000 miles." As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon shadow moved and looked at Jiang Hao as if it was listening. It looked at him questioningly. "Me?" Jiang Hao pointed at himself and smiled. "I've been in the 9 heavens for a long time. No one can surpass me. Let's go. Nobody will come after you. I promise." The true dragon's phantom stared at Jiang Hao for a long time, then leaped up and rushed into the 9 heavens. Jiang Hao looked at the excited dragon. In the end, he raised the sword and turned around to walk toward the immortal intent that surged up from below. What an immense aura. But, Jiang Hao smiled. No one can win against Smiling San Sheng. He used the 5th form of the heavenly blade, inquiry. Boom. The sword intent and the immortal intent clashed. A dazzling light erupted. In the second ancestral land, a white-robed man looked at the dragon skeleton in front of the palace. It was as if nothing had changed. However, at some point, the white-robed man had been injured. Blood flowed out of his arm. There was even a wound between his eyebrows. Blood flowed out from it. Ji Yu and the others did not even know what had happened. However, whatever had happened was not simple. As more and more wounds appeared on Smiling San Sheng's body, a dragon's roar came from the sky. Liao Yingrong and the others looked up, but there was no dragon shadow. They heard a muffled voice. "My friend, leave the rest to me." For a moment, a dragon blessing landed on Jiang Hao. He slowly opened his eyes. Under the dragon clan's blessing, the wounds on Jiang Hao's body healed. "Friend, have you fulfilled your long-cherished wish?" Jiang Hao asked as he looked at the dragon's skeleton. At that moment, the skeleton flickered with endless light, but it seemed to be disappearing. "To be able to make a friend like you at the last moment, my long-cherished wish has been fulfilled. Goodbye, my friend." Bang! The skeleton shattered. Then, it soared into the sky. The 4 pillars and the 8 divine statues followed it into the clouds. "I didn't even get to ask for your name," said Jiang Hao with a sigh. At that moment, a dragon's scale fell from the sky and floated in front of him. It was undoubtedly a true dragon's inheritance. Originally, he did not need any inheritance or opportunities, so he accepted the other party's kindness without hesitation. At that moment, he sensed something and disappeared from the spot. Seeing that the divine item had been completely activated, Jiyu did not stay there any longer and wanted to leave with the other three. However, when she was about to do that, the three of them took a step back. This made her a little confused. Liao Yingrong took out a divine treasure and the starlight. Jiyu, take these. Why are you giving me these? Jiyu asked. We thought about it for a long time. We feel that it's better for us to stay here, Liao Yingrong said. Yes, Zhuojing said. Why? Jiyu was puzzled. The three of them shook their heads but did not answer her. It's the best thing to do. What we need is more time, said Liao Yingrong seriously. There's one more thing I hope you can tell the people outside. Tell them not to make an enemy out of Smiling Sansheng. After that, the three of them hid in the fog. If they went out, they might leak the secret, and Smiling Sansheng might get in trouble. Staying back was the best choice. If they did not go outside, no one would know. That way, Smiling Sansheng would have enough time. What he lacked the most was time. They felt that their lives were not as important as his. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:13. Do you want to surpass the human emperor? Realm. The wind howled on the surface of the sea, and the waves clung to the shore of the island. The terrifying power wanted to devour everything around it. The power of the heavens was endless, and everyone had to retreat. Hong Yuye's ship also began to retreat. This surprised the woman who was a member of the Saint Bandits. At that moment, Hong Yuye put down the teacup. The golden ring in her hand fell to the side. She picked up the teapot and poured a cup of tea. After that, Hong Yuye put down the teapot. It was at this moment that a white-robed scholar appeared in front of her. He was covered in spots of blood, but there were no obvious injuries. However, his face was pale. The ship did not stop. It sped away. The Saint Bandits could not catch up. The woman was unable to understand how he had appeared so suddenly. She had been too focused on the battle, and she had not expected anyone to materialize on the ship. If she was correct, that person was Smiling Sansheng. When she turned to ask, the ship had sped away. She could not chase after it. Both those people made her terrified. Jiang Hao sat on the chair and heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea. The tea contained spiritual energy. It was something he urgently needed. He was exhausted and injured. After a sip, the spiritual energy began to absorb into her. He put down the teacup and felt much better. You made friends? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao raised his head and looked at the person in front of him. She was still in the red and white dress he had bought for her. Drinking the tea made him feel at ease. Jiang Hao said, Senior, you must be joking. Smiling Sansheng made friends with someone, not me. Why don't you have any friends? Hong Yuye asked calmly. I live in seclusion. I'm not very socially gifted and don't know how to talk with people properly, said Jiang Hao. You have the spirit beast, and its many friends that it claims to have. Hong Yuye chuckled. Jiang Hao lowered his head. A spirit beast was just a beast, and he was a human being. One day, the spirit beast would leave him and the Heavenly Note sect to be on its path to becoming a great demon. He would remain in the Heavenly Note sect alone and continue to plant spirit herbs. How long are you going to stay in the Heavenly Note sect? Hong Yuye suddenly asked. At least until your flower blooms, Senior, said Jiang Hao. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower was still in the Heavenly Note sect. He could not leave. He could not take it along with him either. Otherwise, there would be a disaster. Hong Yuye looked at the man before her calmly. You want to surpass the human emperor? She asked after taking a sip of her tea. Jiang Hao's hands paused on the teacup. He put down the teacup. Senior, you must be joking. I can't compare to the human emperor in this lifetime. Why not? Hong Yuye chuckled. I can't become someone like the human emperor, Jiang Hao said truthfully. The reason why the human emperor was so great was not only because of his power but also because of what he had done for the benefit of all. He had achieved great things. No one could compare to him. Maybe he could surpass the human emperor's cultivation realm, but he did not dare to declare it openly. Hong Yuye stared at Jiang Hao. He felt stressed when she stared at him like that. He lowered his head. In the end, she looked away and stopped talking. He drank his tea quietly. At that moment, their ship was far away from the Heavenly Spirit tribe. They were heading toward Mount Li Island. Jiang Hao closed his eyes and began to heal himself. When he sent the dragon of the sky away, he faced the immortals alone. At that moment, he had felt immense pressure. The mountain sea shield had been shattered in that battle, and the 9 heavens battle armor had also dimmed in power. All his divine abilities were out of fuel. That boundless immortal intent was extremely powerful. He wielded the heavenly blade and cut his way through. However, it had been difficult to overpower his opponents. The immortal aura was like an endless wave. It wanted to swallow him whole. The fallen immortal clan had suddenly become so powerful because the immortal seed had begun to bloom. If not for the sudden return of the dragon of the sky at the last moment, his power might not have been enough. It would have been a disaster. In that battle, Jiang Hao could clearly see his own shortcomings. He needed more time. It was best to go back and continue planting spirit herbs. However, he was not sure how difficult it would be to advance after this. At the moment, he wanted to recover from his injuries. Around late November, the shore of Mount Li Island was turbulent, and dozens of ships had gathered at the dock. There were often people riding their swords in the sky. The place was crowded. There were also smaller boats at the dock. Jiang Hao sat cross-legged on the deck. He opened his eyes only when the sun shone on him. "I'm almost done," Jiang Hao thought. Jiang Hao could not help but sigh as he looked around. He was seriously injured this time, so he had been recuperating. Unknowingly, a long time had passed, and the ship had arrived at Mount Li Island. Hong Yuye was still drinking tea. "There seems to be a lot more people here than before." Jiang Hao raised his head and looked into the distance. People kept flying on their swords. There was a high chance that something big had happened here. The only major event was related to the Heavenly Spirit tribe. "Senior, has the immortal seed bloomed?" Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye looked at him but did not speak. It seemed that he had to find the answer himself. However, at the last moment, the dragon of the sky should have activated everything. The immortal seed must have been greatly affected. After that, Jiang Hao reverted to his original appearance and headed to the inn. He needed to find a place first to rest. He would drop Hong Yuye there and then ask around. There was no one chatting on the stone tablet. After he left for the ancestral land, he did not focus on the stone tablet at all. He needed to find out what had happened outside. It would be great if the gathering started soon. After a while, Jiang Hao walked out of the inn. He wanted to walk around and ask about any recent developments that he might have missed. "I'll go to the place where we bought tea leaves last time. Elder Lin didn't seem that bad last time," he thought. "I didn't have any spirit stones before, but now I have some. I could maybe buy more tea from him." With that in mind, Jiang Hao strode forward. At the Heavenly Tea restaurant, there were a few guests in Elder Lin's room on the 7th floor. At that moment, 2 guards were there with him. They sat around a table as though they were all facing each other as enemies. "Does the Heavenly Tea restaurant have so little? We just want to buy some tea at half the price." "Is that too much to ask?" asked a brawny man with a smile. "Our blood dragon sect is not unreasonable. I hope we can have a good trade. If not," the burly man looked at Elder Lin icily. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 10:14. Do you dare to attack? In the room, the ancient tea table was set up against the window. The flowers outside the window were red, and they swayed in the wind. The fragrance of the tea lingered from the cups on the table. However, the surrounding air felt a little heavy. The tea was rippling due to some power as though it would spill out of the teacup at any time. Elder Lin felt bitter. He had lived carefully for so many years. In the end, he had fallen into such a situation. The Heavenly Spirit tribe was besieged, and strange phenomena had begun happening. The heavenly spirit tribe had fallen so spectacularly that the surrounding industries were struggling. Some people became bolder. If he could not deal with this person, others would appear. Usually, 3 cultivators at the peak of the Immortal Ascension platform would be no problem. However, the visit from the early-stage Immortal Ascension platform cultivator from the Blood Dragon sect made things difficult for him. If he fought this person, there would be other problems. If they were really willing to pay half, he could live with it. However, they intended to pay only 100 spirit stones for a tea that cost 5,000. He would suffer a heavy loss if he agreed to that. What was there to stop them from snatching away the entire heavenly tea restaurant? "Fellow disciple, please be reasonable," said Elder Lin. If this place was gone, they would have to answer the heavenly spirit tribe. Although the heavenly spirit tribe was in trouble at the moment, they still would find a way to burden him. Moreover, they had other enemies. The heavenly tea restaurant only existed in name. Everyone would assume it was the same restaurant. More and more people would arrive to make trouble. Where could he escape? Undoubtedly, others were keeping an eye on the place. There was no way he could escape. This was the drawback of relying on one major force. When the power of that organization rose, his influence rose as well. However, since the heavenly spirit tribe had plummeted, he would face even more dangers. Be reasonable. The brawny man sat down with the 9-ringed blade in his hand. We're being reasonable. We're here to do business. We aren't here to hurt you. Why would you say that, Elder Lin? If you say things like that, you'll be insulting us. As he spoke, he looked at his companions behind him and asked if what he said sounded reasonable. The people behind him nodded in agreement. The other 2 elders saw that the Blood Dragon sect was unwilling to give in. They felt helpless. The Blood Dragon sect was too powerful. If it was in the past, would these people be so brazen? Jiang Hao once again went to the Heavenly Tea restaurant with his cultivation at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. This place was much quieter than before. The women working there felt worried. "Senior, are you here to buy tea leaves?" A woman came up to Jiang Hao. "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded. "Let's go to the 7th floor. I'm looking for Elder Lin." That is, the woman looked troubled. "What's wrong?" Jiang Hao asked curiously. "There are guests on the 7th floor. Senior, you should buy from some other floor. I'm here for Elder Lin." "I feel like doing business with him is not that bad," said Jiang Hao kindly. "But, Senior, the guests are from the Blood Dragon sect. They don't seem very easy to talk to. Let's go to another floor. I'll show you other types of tea." She was not concerned whether he was a senior worth offending at the moment. If it was the Green Bandit, she would have been beheaded right at that moment. Jiang Hao was surprised. Then, he raised his head and looked up. He sensed someone at the peak of the Immortal Ascension platform. "I'm a patient person. I can wait for them to finish." Jiang Hao smiled. Then, he walked toward the stairs. The woman followed him hurriedly. Jiang Hao slowly made his way to the 7th floor. The woman was a little concerned, but in the end, she obediently lowered her head and led the way. Did the heavenly spirit tribe suffer a crushing defeat? Jiang Hao asked. "There's not much news so far," said the woman. She wondered how he did not know anything about it if he was a powerful person. After all, he had always been here. Her cultivation realm was too low, so she did not know too much about such a big thing. Some of the seniors had already left, and the current situation was not very optimistic. Soon, they arrived at the 7th floor. As soon as they arrived, Jiang Hao heard laughter. "Is there anything wrong with buying your ancient fragrant spice tea for 50 spirit stones? How can you say that is not reasonable? How about this? You can search us. We'll pay as many spirit stones as you can find on us. Then, we can use that to buy your tea." The door was not closed, so the mocking laughter spilled out into the hallway. The woman with Jiang Hao turned pale. The situation seemed to be worse than he had expected. Suddenly, she heard a chuckle. 50 spirit stones to buy ancient fragrant spice tea? That's so cheap. I'll buy it for 60 instead. Everyone looked in the direction from where the voice had come from. Elder Lin and the other people were a little surprised. He recognized this person. He was at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. He had bought tea leaves from here before. Elder Lin had not known how powerful this person was, and he had been laughed at. The other two people were stunned when they saw Jiang Hao there. They had seen Elder Lin with him before. However, not everyone was Elder Lin. The people of the Blood Dragon sect would not be deceived. They had already decided what to do with him. The burly man looked at Jiang Hao. "Are you the Green Bandit? I heard the Green Bandit scares most people. I wonder if you can scare me too." He turned to the people behind him. "Kill him." A person in the primordial spirit realm walked toward Jiang Hao. "Bad luck for you to have met us," he said with a sinister smile. "It's time for you to die." "Fellow disciple, there's no need for that," Elder Lin immediately said. However, no one paid any attention to him. At that moment, the person in the primordial spirit realm held the spear in his hand, and his power erupted. He wanted to finish off Jiang Hao in one blow. The woman was shocked, but she could not move at all. However, she saw the senior beside her take a step forward. He walked steadily all the way to the person. The primordial spirit realm cultivator suddenly froze. He allowed the senior to walk past. He did not stop at all. He walked to the burly man. At this moment, everything seemed to have slowed down. Immediately after, the woman saw that the primordial spirit realm cultivator foam at the mouth. Blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. The next moment, crash, he collapsed in a puddle of blood. This sudden thing made everyone's heart race. At that moment, Jiang Hao looked at the burly man in front of him and smiled. "Do you dare to make a move now?" The burly man broke out in a cold sweat. He did not notice how the other party had attacked. He would not have been able to stop Jiang Hao even if he wanted to. Just as he was about to beg for mercy, Jiang Hao sighed. "It doesn't matter. I really dislike being provoked and underestimated." A blade appeared at the burly man's neck. Then, he slashed. "Learn to be more polite next time." The blade fell, and the burly man was beheaded. The burly man could do nothing. With a thud, he fell to the floor and lost consciousness. There was nothing more left. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:15. Someone has to collect the heavenly extreme dream pearl. The member of the Blood Dragon sect was beheaded. Blood splattered all over the room. It terrified Elder Lin and the other people. His mind went blank. The power fluctuation did not stop. The woman who had come up with Jiang Hao was in a daze. She had no idea what had happened. "It's been long since I met you, Elder Lin," said Jiang Hao. Everyone snapped back to their senses. Elder Lin looked at Jiang Hao in fear. He lowered his head respectfully. Please senior, don't make fun of me." Jiang Hao looked at him. Elder Lin was sure that this person was far more powerful than anyone he had ever seen. After seeing what had happened, Elder Lin could no longer act like a senior to this person. However, he did not mind. As long as the other party was calm, there was no danger. "Should we go somewhere else?" Jiang Hao asked. The other two elders lowered their heads and did not dare to say anything. As for the remaining Blood Dragon sect disciples, they had them under control. Just because this senior had spared them did not mean they were free to go. However, they were all glad for Elder Lin. This senior was not really at the Foundation establishment realm. If Elder Lin had not been respectful when he met Jiang Hao before, there would have been trouble. The others felt ashamed of underestimating this senior before. Elder Lin was smart. In the new room, the tea was ready. No one else dared to sit with Elder Lin and Jiang Hao. The woman who worked there served them tea. "Have a seat. I came here to ask you something." They sat down. "What do you want to ask, senior?" "Well, try as much as we can to help you," said Elder Lin. "That's right. Our cultivation realms are a little low, but we do keep information on many things," said the woman. "How much do you know about the Heavenly Spirit tribe?" Jiang Hao asked. Half of the Heavenly Spirit Tribe's island has collapsed, with more than half dead or injured. Their control over Mount Lee Island is far from what it was before. Moreover, it seems that the people have not all left, which gives many people a chance to take advantage of the situation, Elder Lin said bitterly. Jiang Hao nodded. The weak ones had to snatch opportunities when they could. Otherwise, it was hard for them to survive. Everyone was like that, and so was he. He did not want to leave the Heavenly Note tribe yet and did not want to attract too much attention either. That way, he could avoid most of the dangers. Compared to the outside world, the Heavenly Note sect was much safer. He only needed to deal with the danger of Golden Core and Primordial Spirit Realm seniors. Others in higher realms did not bother him. Where are the Saint Bandits and the fallen Immortal clan? Jiang Hao asked. No one could answer him. Jiang Hao gave up. Then, he asked about some forging methods. He needed to find someone to forge a pickaxe for him. In the future, he might need to dig for ores. The previous pickaxes were no longer in good condition, and the ores he dug out were getting better and better. Ordinary pickaxes were indeed not good enough anymore. The Heavenly Blade was not useful for mining either. He had to make a better pickaxe. Forging methods. Heavenly King Mu Longyu's partner, Mi Lingyu, is a forging master. Perhaps she can help, said Elder Lin. Is there anyone other than her? Jiang Hao asked. He knew about Mi Lingyu. She was in Lawless Tower. He did not think he could make her forge him a pickaxe when she was in there. Old armament building in Heavenly King Teomas area is a publicly recognized place for forging, said Elder Lin. It's ranked high overseas, and it's a little expensive, the beautiful woman said. A little expensive? Jiang Hao remained calm. He didn't know if he had enough spirit stones. After that, they provided the names of other places. There were other places like the End of All Things and the Blood Dragon sect. But the Blood Dragon sect is quite powerful. Senior, you might be targeted since you killed their people, said Elder Lin. Jiang Hao did not mind. With Hong Yuye around, he usually did not need to worry about such things. He would not be recognized by others, nor would he be spied on. After getting what he wanted, Jiang Hao decided to leave. He had wanted to buy some tea, but Elder Lin wanted to give it to him for free. Then, I'll take my leave, said Jiang Hao. Elder Lin hesitated. Senior, how should we address you? Jiang Hao smiled. Smiling San Sheng, he said and left. The moment they heard the name, they felt as though they had been struck by lightning. Smiling San Sheng was a powerful warrior who had recently become famous in the Sea Realm. Even the recent development was said to be related to Smiling San Sheng. Elder Lin heaved a sigh of relief. He decided to treat anyone who came up to the 7th floor with respect. It did not matter if the customer was at the Immortal Ascension platform or the Foundation Establishment realm, he would treat them equally. The cast cave was in the mountain, and there was a mysterious aura emanating from the deep valley. Boom! There was a huge explosion in the depths. Smiling San Sheng, our immortal clan will never forgive you. We won't rest until one of us dies. Boom! At that moment, some people in the other parts of the cave also heard the explosion and the roar of anger. They had an overbearing immortal aura on their bodies, and their strength was no longer the same as before. The immortal seed had bloomed, but it had stopped halfway. The cause was Smiling San Sheng. Find him, shouted one of the elders. Open the altar. Even if we can't find him, we might find something related to him. They would find a clue even if that was the last thing they did, unless the other party concealed very little trace without leaving anything behind at all. In the south, at the entrance of the imperial city, Baizhu met the princess. Sister Wen Shui, you're so nice. You're the only one who is willing to spend time with me, Baizhu said to Princess Wen Shui with a smile. Royal sister, I don't know you properly. Could you please not look for me when you are back here next time? My other sisters look at me strangely and ask me weird questions related to you. They ask me if you are ever going to get married, said Wen Shui helplessly. My relationship with them isn't that great. It's quite troublesome for me. It's all right. At most, they'll look at you strangely. Although it'll be a little uncomfortable, You're always going to be different, said Baizhu. Besides, you have earned my friendship. When you're a little older, I'll take you along to travel the world. Wen Shui forced out a smile. Baizhu waved at her. Just tell my brothers that I'll come back as soon as I can. Also, please pay my respects if you go to the ancestral hall. Thank them for their protection. After that, Baizhu left. Wen Shui sighed. Thank the ancestors. I just hope she doesn't come back. She felt that this princess was trouble. She felt very uneasy. Baizhu left the imperial city. Not long after she left, she felt something vibrate in her storage treasure. I left at the wrong time. I should have left one day later. Then, she stopped thinking about it. She was just in time to collect the heavenly extreme dream pearl. Someone had to do it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:16. They'll see me as smiling San Sheng when I return. Baizhu and Qiao Yi arrived in the city. She had her own courtyard there. Princess, do you need to rest? Qiao Yi asked. They had just left the imperial city. This city was so close to the imperial city. If they were going to take a break, it would have been better to just return. I want to take a break, Baizhu said with a smile. Wouldn't it be better to rest in the imperial city? Qiao Yi asked. We already left. If I go back, the other princesses will be talking behind my back, said Baizhu. They'll talk about you behind your back even if you don't do anything, muttered Qiao Yi. It had always been like that. Whenever Baizhu returned, she would become a topic of gossip. Many people laughed and talked about her behind her back. She was almost 400 years old, and her lifespan was reaching its end. She had refused to get married. She was the oldest unmarried princess in the imperial city. Princess, after seeing the little princess, you never mentioned the spirit beast egg again. Is there something wrong? Qiao Yi asked after a moment of hesitation. Baizhu thought for a moment. Nothing is wrong. It's just that I feel that the spirit beast egg is unusual. I have to figure out the origin of this egg. Baizhu was not too worried about that. The royal family had the protection of the southern lands after all. There were two people in the south who could destroy the place at any time. At night, Baizhu lay on the bed and covered herself with a blanket. She closed her eyes. Then, she entered the stone tablet. The gathering had finally begun. There were some things that she had to let them know. Besides, she was also curious about the situation overseas. Recently, she had received some strange news. It seemed that some places in the south had erupted with immortal intent. She felt that it had something to do with the heavenly spirit tribe. After entering the public area, Baizhu saw the others. There were the same number of people. The others looked calm, like nothing major had happened. She had to ask. Dan Yuan asked about their cultivation as usual. This time, Zhong had a problem with her cultivation. Baizhu found it rather strange that Jing never asked about his cultivation issues except for the first time he had become part of the gathering. But that was not a big deal. She only hoped that she could hear him say that he had the heavenly extreme dream pearl under his control. It seems that no one has a problem with their cultivation, said Dan Yuan. Do you know about the four-sided beast? A four-sided beast? Jiang Hao thought. He had never heard of it before. He had never seen it. He was quite happy to hear about the gathering today. That was because he knew the specific situation and understood the fallen immortal clan. The fallen immortal clan was different from the other races. They seemed to be extremely good at spying. Back then, he had been spied on, but he had the heavenly fate misfortune pearl to defend himself. That was why the other party had to suffer the consequences of his actions. If they came again, it would be quite troublesome. The heavenly fate misfortune pearl would not destroy someone, but the earth extreme silent pearl would. He had to find a way to deal with it more effectively. He was not sure if he could avoid being spied on by pretending to be smiling San Sheng. At the moment, it seemed safe. Is it an ancient beast? Xing asked. Yes. It should be appearing soon, Dan Yuan said with a smile. If you have any news, you can place a request. What does it look like? Gui asked. It should still be hatching now, said Dan Yuan. At present, we can confirm that every beast waiting to hatch will have some special runes that will absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and emit a faint light. When it is fully mature, it will descend into the world. What kind of change will it bring? Liu was curious. Dan Yuan shook his head. I can't be sure. However, the four-sided beasts brought a disaster back then. Jiang Hao sighed. He felt danger everywhere. There were too many things that could harm this land, especially with the Great Era War approaching. It was no wonder the human emperor could not return to his peak back then. He needed to overcome all obstacles and suppress the world. From various records or oral accounts, it could be confirmed that the human emperor had suffered from a hidden illness and had no time to recover. There was no news of the four-sided beast in that record. Dan Yuan looked at Jing. I have news for you, my friend. Jiang Hao checked it immediately. It was news related to the ancient sword cliff in the north. Jiang Hao nodded, and the deal between them ended. Friend Xing, did you also receive help from that person? Dan Yuan looked at Xing. The latter nodded. The deal between them was over. After that was the trading segment. Friend Jing, please feel free to tell me what you need, said Xing. Jiang Hao knew that he had most likely succeeded this time. He was not in a hurry to ask for a reward. He told him he would wait for that. Xing owed him a big reward, and Gui owed him a small reward. Friend Liu, you can ask what you want, Xing said. This time, the deep-sea race had paid a huge price. It broke through the heavenly spirit tribe's defense and affected the fallen immortal clan's altar. I want some cultivation techniques that are suitable for cultivating in the deep sea. Liu seemed to have already thought of what he wanted. Xing nodded. Is the matter over already? Has the fallen immortal clan's immortal seed failed to bloom? Gui asked. Yes. Xing nodded. He felt a little helpless. Actually, I still didn't manage to catch up. The immortal seed has bloomed halfway. Fortunately, it was suppressed. But compared to before, the effect should be half as good. It will remain suppressed for another 100 years. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. Although he had not completely stopped it, he had still stopped it for a while. That was good. When the immortal seed bloomed, it would take some time for the fallen immortal clan to recover to its peak. 100 years was not too much. He should be able to protect himself when it bloomed in the future. In the Great Era War, the fallen immortal clan had many enemies and could fight for many days for themselves. However, he did not know how powerful the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment would become. She had great luck, but she needed time. 1 to 200 years. Is it enough for the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment to get stronger? Gui asked curiously. Good question. Jiang Hao thought. Gui really knew how to ask the right questions. A few of them turned to look at Zhong. At present, only Zhong, who was in the Astronomical Academy, could come into contact with the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. She read the tomes of arcane and was enveloped by 7-colored auspicious clouds. The entire academy was filled with the sound of the Great Way and brought opportunities to many people. Yueluan has also changed. As for herself, she seems to be just standing there without gaining anything. Zhong sighed. The Heaven Tao Foundation establishment was different from the rest, and it was only now that she could clearly sense it. What is written in the Heavenly Book? Gui asked. The others praised her silently for asking what they had wanted to ask. The one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment hasn't read that yet, so the contents of the Heavenly Book are still unknown. Zhong felt a little regretful. Jiang Hao sighed. He was also curious. However, more than anything, he wanted to know how Man Jiyu was doing. Unfortunately, it was not good to ask about it. There were other things he could not ask. It would affect the impression he left behind. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1017. Don't look at me. What does the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl have to do with me? Everyone was still unfamiliar with the Heaven Dao Foundation establishment. It felt as though nothing in the world had anything to do with the one who possessed it. Are there no opportunities that are needed for the one with the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment? Gui asked. No one could answer that question. Everyone looked at Senior Dan Yuan. He chuckled. It's not that she doesn't have the opportunities needed for someone with Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment, but some things that might seem like extraordinary opportunities are just ordinary things for her. Her talent is great. When she comes across a cultivation technique, she will glean what is important from it and come up with her own version of the technique suitable for someone of her talents. Pills can help with cultivation, but when she walks between heaven and earth, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth flows into her body like a vortex. She doesn't need pills or talismans to refine her cultivation. Her body is itself sacred and heals itself constantly. There are few things that she might feel the need for. Although it was evident, Jiang Hao still felt it was unbelievable. There was a reason why Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment cultivators progressed so fast. The others in the gathering were also shocked. If more people were given the opportunity to achieve the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment, the world would be unimaginable. Zhong looked at Jing. I haven't gone to the dragon nest yet. I need to wait for the contents of the wordless heavenly book to be unveiled. Jiang Hao nodded. He wasn't in a hurry. Xing also informed Gui that the item she wanted could be sent her away at any time. Gui naturally wouldn't go to the west again, so she requested for it to be given to Zhong. She then asked her to deliver it. Zhong agreed. Gui asked whether there was really a dragon in the west. It was said that there was a legend of a dragon in the west and that the dragon had the ability to reach the heavens and the earth. However, it just remained a legend. It was only a possibility. Zhong nodded. It was already good enough that she knew what was happening. The previous trades were completed. Gui was still looking for the Saint Bandits. She was looking for the Saint Bandits in the south to make a deal. Otherwise, some of them were overseas, and they could easily contact the Saint Bandits there. After that, it was time to discuss the surrounding events. Gui had been waiting for a long time. Let me tell you about my situation first. I talked to Jiyu Changsheng and learned something from him. It's about the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. Everyone was shocked. Jiang Hao listened quietly. The Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl was indeed dangerous, but he didn't know its exact location. If he did, he could avoid it. Seeing the others looking at her, Gui said, Jiyu Changsheng said that there's a river on the other side of the tree, and the river water leads to the pearl. The Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl might appear there. Jiang Hao lowered his head in thought. He sighed. The other side of the tree? Wasn't the tree still in the Heavenly Note sect? Everyone looked at him. Don't look at me. What am I supposed to do? Jiang Hao thought. He did not want to come into contact with such a thing. However, everything dangerous seemed to be found in the Heavenly Note sect. How could he avoid it? That river? I've heard of it, Dan Yuan said. The river is not simple, and the darkness inside is even more extraordinary. Even if your cultivation realm is impressive, it might not be able to illuminate the path ahead, unless you possess something special. Something that can make light be born in the darkness. Jiang Hao and the others did not understand what it meant, but they knew that the river was not easy to cross. It was even more impossible to head to the location of the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. It was not just about their cultivation realm. It was similar to the time he had found the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl in the blood pool. It seems like the problem is greater than I expected. Jiang Hao thought. He felt helpless, but he did not show it. In the end, everyone used the old method to deal with it. If anything big happened, they would contact the Immortal Sect. After that, Xing said, the fallen Immortal clan will definitely be furious from their defeat this time, especially when it comes to Smiling Sansheng. The most terrifying thing about the fallen Immortal clan is their ability to spy. It's almost impossible to guard against their prying. Usually, it wouldn't matter much. But this time, the matter with Smiling Sansheng is too big. He stopped the Immortal seed from blooming. He turned to Jing. They knew that there was a connection between Smiling Sansheng and Jing. Xing had not expected that the identity of Smiling San Sheng would be this great when he provided it to Jing back then. It was as if he had suppressed an entire clan by himself. It was unbelievable. Even the real Smiling San Sheng would not dare be so brazen. Jiang Hao nodded but did not say much. It seemed like he did not seem to care about these things. Liu told them that the 12 heavenly kings were preparing to become immortals. Even if the hope was slim, they wanted to try. But I heard that they have other options. I don't know if that's true, he said. Jiang Hao did not care about that. Whether the 12 heavenly kings became immortals or had nothing to do with him. He asked where Kai Tian was. The answer he got was that he was in charge of the old armament building that belonged to Heavenly King Taomu. Jiang Hao felt that it was really fate that was bringing them together, since his next stop was the old armament building. He wondered if he could meet him there. After that, they talked about the Heavenly Spirit Tribe, Heavenly Saint Sect, and the Fallen Immortal Clan. There was also something happening in the west. There seemed to be no changes in the south. Liu said that the Great Thousand God Sect seemed determined to find the Lantern Bearer no matter what. The Lantern Bearer had no weaknesses, so no one could force him to do anything. That was exactly what the Great Thousand God Sect was worried about. They were afraid he was out of their control. After a long time, the gathering ended with Senior Dan Yuan's reminder. Jiang Hao opened his eyes in the inn. Then, he took out a notebook and began recording what he had learned from the gathering. What was more important was the ancient sword cliff in the north. That was related to the third dragon. Next was the four-sided beast. He did not know what that might bring. As for the heavenly extreme dream pearl, he was helpless. He might not be able to enter that river. Jiang Hao wrote down the news about the ancient sword cliff. There was also a mention of a cultivation technique. The lifeblood refinement technique of the Mountain Sea Sword Sect, the Mountain Sea Lifeblood Refinement Technique. I'm standing in the ancient lands. My body is like an ancient mountain, resonating with the sea. Jiang Hao was shocked. The lifeblood refinement technique was somewhat extraordinary, and its value far exceeded the news from the ancient sword cliff. It seems that Senior Dan Yuan thinks that my information is worth this price. He finished writing everything about the technique and put the notebook away. He would find out who was suitable for this technique and guide them when the time was right. It was useless to him, but it might be useful for someone else. The ancient sword cliff, body tempering secret realm of the Divine Corpse Sect. This first sentence surprised Jiang Hao. He had assumed that it would most likely be related to the Mountain Sea Sword Sect. He did not expect it to be from the Divine Corpse Sect. His sect was not on good terms with the Divine Corpse Sect. How was he going to find a way to go there? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 10:18. What did Baizhu do? Jiang Hao did not want the ancient sword cliff to be in the Divine Corpse Sect. If it was in the Mountain Sea Sword Sect, he might have tried to enter it. After all, he had made a deal with the Mountain Sea Sword Sect. They were on good terms. But the Divine Corpse Sect was out of the question. They had dealings before, but they had fought and killed each other. The Heavenly Note Sect had cooperated with the Divine Corpse Sect on occasions, but there was still some enmity between them. It was just that the benefits had outweighed everything, so the two sects had begrudgingly worked together. However, if the disciples of the Heavenly Note Sect dared to go north, they would be targeted. Entering the Divine Corpse Sect was out of the question. If he went there, it would be like entering a tiger's den. The ancient sword cliff is a secret realm that every inner sect disciple of the Divine Corpse Sect must enter at every stage. It is divided into 6 levels that correspond to each realm. Jiang Hao wrote them down one by one. Although the introduction was very detailed, there was nothing related to dragons. In addition, the 6th level of the ancient sword cliff seemed to have been explored long ago. Jiang Hao did not care about that. For the thing that he wanted, he needed a secret technique. But the inner sect disciples of the Divine Corpse Sect can go as they please. It doesn't seem that special or secretive. It is no wonder Senior Dan Yuan gave me an impressive lifeblood refinement technique. Putting away the book, Jiang Hao sighed. He knew the location, but he still needed to find someone who would be willing to go there. But who? There was no one from the north in the gathering. The others knew nothing about the north. Maybe I should ask Zhuang Yuzhen. He might have a way, muttered Jiang Hao. Zhuang Yuzhen was an elder of the Divine Corpse sect, so he knew a lot about the sect. He would know a way to enter the ancient sword cliff. He could also provide some plans. The only problem was finding a person to go there. After he was done, Jiang Hao closed his eyes. He could ask Hong Yuye about it tomorrow. He needed to ask her about the four-sided beast anyway. There was also the matter with the heavenly extreme dream pearl. Meanwhile, Baizhu sat up, threw her blanket aside, and got up to leave. After a moment of hesitation, she covered herself with the blanket again. She would think about it tomorrow. Early the next morning, Baizhu walked to the courtyard. Qiao Yi had been guarding the courtyard the whole night. "Did you sleep well last night, princess?" she asked. "Not really. I kept thinking about the number one genius of the royal family last night," Baizhu said helplessly. "Princess, were you thinking about yourself?" Qiao Yi asked curiously. Baizhu rested her chin on her hands. "I was thinking about the person who impersonated the number one genius of the imperial family. Doesn't she have a spirit beast egg with her? That bothers me. I wonder what changes the egg will bring. Even if it's not ordinary, can it be compared to you?" asked Qiao Yi. "I don't think so. I'm the true number one genius of the imperial family," Baizhu said after some thought. It did not matter what it might be, but it surely could not match up to her. Being the number one genius of the imperial family was no joke. "Then, what are you so worried about, princess?" Qiao Yi asked. "In the future, if I tell my brothers that I'm the number one genius in the family, won't they laugh at me?" Baizhu asked. Qiao Yi did not know what to say. Maybe the spirit beast egg isn't a threat to you, but could it be a threat to the royal family? Qiao Yi asked. "I don't know." Baizhu stood up. "I'll get someone to ask about it. I'll prepare some gifts for my little sister when I get back." After saying that, she walked out. She had been delayed for a long time. It was time to go to the Yellow River. Princess Wen Shui sighed and walked to the ancestral hall. She couldn't enter it. After all, she was just an ordinary person. She was only slightly better than Baizhu. However, there was one thing she could not hope to compete with Baizhu about. Baizhu had two elder brothers. One of them was at the return to Void Realm. They were strong contenders for the throne. As long as those two cared for Baizhu, she would have nothing to worry about. So, when she went to visit the two princes and told them that Princess Baizhu had requested for her to pray at the ancestral hall on her behalf, they let her enter the hall. She felt great pressure looking at the ancestral tablets. The imperial family had the fate of the earth, and their ancestors' blessing could really work at times. She knelt respectfully and explained the reason she was there. Boom! Suddenly, the earth shook, and the ancestral tablets shook. For a moment, Princess Wen Shui felt terrified. She felt her throat close up as though something was preventing her from speaking. For an ordinary princess like her, this pressure was like a vast ocean pressing down on her. She was afraid. At that moment, there were too many thoughts in her mind, and she wanted to break free from the immense pressure. Suddenly, she thought of something. Princess Baizhu sends her gratitude. Please protect her when she is outside, so she can return safely. Instantly, the pressure disappeared, and the vast aura surged into her body. The memorial tablet had a faint glow as if it was satisfied. Princess Wen Shui stood rooted to the ground. What had Baizhu done? It seemed she had received the protection of the ancestors because she had prayed for Baizhu on her behalf. Overseas, the waves were endless, and the water surged relentlessly. In the blue sky, the clouds floated lazily. Two figures approached from afar. "Senior, where do you think the heavenly extreme dream pearl is?" Jiang Hao asked. On the way, he told her about the gathering. She did not seem to care much. The matter of the fallen immortal clan did not even get a reaction from her. Therefore, there was no need to worry too much at the moment. Didn't you say it was in the Heavenly Note sect? Hong Yuye asked calmly. Yes, but the river that leads to it might not really be at the Heavenly Note sect, said Jiang Hao. Senior, how do you think we should enter it? You want to go in? Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao and smiled. No. Jiang Hao hurriedly shook his head. I just feel that the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl is too dangerous. If anything happens, it will affect everything, especially your flower. If there's a way to enter, we can let the people of the Immortal Sect know about it and let them solve the problem. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao carefully. She did not say anything. Then, he asked about the four-sided beast. The four-sided beasts, also known as the four great monsters, are different every time they appear. Their source should be the four violent powers. Whoever falls on these sources gets transformed into the four great monsters, Hong Yuye said calmly. Can it be tamed? Jiang Hao asked. It's not that easy, Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao nodded. It was not easy, but it was not impossible. There were only 4 of them, after all. If there were any in the south, there would be great sects that would go and suppress them immediately. There should not be too much of a problem. He did not need to worry so much. After that, Jiang Hao talked about the 5 dragons. Hong Yuye did not respond. He did not think much of it. A few days later, around early December, Jiang Hao arrived at the sea region that was ruled by Heavenly King Taomu. The Peach Forest Island was filled with peach trees. There were some people flying on their swords. There was a tall building in the center. Kai Tian sat inside the highest building and looked into the distance. He was currently in the middle stage of the primordial soul realm. It would not take long for him to advance to the late stage. He was not particularly talented enough to progress so fast, but Heavenly King Taomu valued him. He had made him a subordinate. That was why he was able to progress in his cultivation so fast. As long as I have time to myself, I can truly be free. He firmly believed it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.